What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Tonight, we are talking Daredevil Born Again, the 2-episode premiere. But before we get into all of that, Doug, how's it going, sir?
Wait, what did you say we're reviewing tonight?
Daredevil Born Again.
Oh, no, I didn't watch it.
It's only a few minutes. You should be good.
Oh, boy, Foggy!
I got it!
Oh, no! Okay, I think I'm ready to talk about it.
And with that, there will be spoilers tonight.
Keith, let me tell you, I am outstanding. I cannot wait to talk about this. I couldn't wait for it to premiere. It is so... oh my gosh, it was amazing. So glad that we're here to talk about it. I want more right now. But before we get into it, Keith, sir, how are you?
I am tremendous. So happy Daredevil's back. I mean, we have waited for this for, like 7 years, and it did not disappoint. And Carrie is out in the chat on YouTube. We're so glad you made it. We've been looking forward to talking to you about this. So without further ado, let's talk Daredevil Born Again. We did get 2 episodes. We got Heaven's Half Hour and Optics. And if you heard Doug's little opening, what's up, Sullivan? It was a rough beginning for one character.
Yeah. So I don't know how much all of you out there who's watching this, I don't know how much of you know about, what went on during the creation, the filming, and everything to do with the show. But I'm sure you probably heard that originally there was not supposed to be, a whole lot of focus on Foggy or on anybody else from the original series, save for Daredevil. And in fact, there really wasn't even supposed to be that much Wilson Fisk in there either. The original show, as it was a little bit different from what we ended up getting. And so this first episode that we watched is actually part of the reshoots, or at least most of it is from the reshoots. And I am very glad that they brought back the actors from the Netflix Daredevil show. I was really worried at first that this was going to be, they were going to basically try and reboot the whole thing with like one of the same actors. And I'm like, Disney, don't. Everybody loved the Netflix series. It was so good. It was like one of the best superhero TV shows around.
It is. The Netflix Daredevil is my favorite superhero show. That and maybe the Penguin. I got to watch the Penguin again.
Now the Penguin is...
Penguin's definitely up there, and you got to watch it again. But, I mean, the Daredevil Netflix show was so incredible, so great. Even with, like, 13 episodes where you got like a little bit of filler at times, it still was just an incredible show. And this is not the same. There is some differences to it, but man, it grew a bit. Is it going to be as good as the Netflix? We don't know yet because we've only gotten 2 episodes out of 9. But man,
so far
it kicked off with such. I mean, you see, it was so nice. You see Karen and Foggy and Matt walking. They're talking about food places and reminiscing about, food. I love talking about food. So I was like, oh yeah, this stuff, and that's good, and that's good. And then, Bullseye shows up.
First, you were saying during our Theory Palooza, you were saying, I can't wait to see Bullseye. He's got to come back. He was the actor that they picked for the Netflix series was so spot on. And yeah, oh my gosh, the minute you see that paperclip fly out and then you see the symbol on the glove, it's like, oh boy, here we go. It's about to go down. And then, they do such an amazing job of getting you to like insta-hate this guy.
And Carrie says, I also like seeing Foggy and What's-Her-Face. And, it was nice because they were having a good time at the bar for that retirement for... that detective. Was his name Cherry? Mm-hmm. Cherry, I think.
Yeah, Cherry.
And
he was retiring.
Yep. And one of the things that I think I don't see a lot of people talking about was Matt's like radar sense and his heightened senses. The way they portrayed it when Foggy was like out on the phone and he was talking to the guy he stashed at his apartment, and Matt's like, hold on. And it's like the aspect ratio kind of changes a little bit, and you can hear him pick. I was like, that's pretty cool. I really like the way they handled that. And then to find out, hey, I stashed this guy at my apartment. He's saying someone's breaking in. And we find out, like you said, we see the little paper clip pin the fly to the wall, and then he takes his glove to stop the light from shaking. And you see the bullseye emblem. I'm like, oh, here we go. But the first thing that popped in my head is, okay, did the Kingpin pay Bullseye to kill Foggy? But he later in this episode told Matt, I did not.
It wasn't me.
Yes, thank you. So I'm like, now that was bugging me after the first episode. Okay, who was hiring Bullseye to kill Foggy? Because Bullseye, as far as we know, is an assassin. He doesn't go around killing people for free. So that's like the big first mystery that we got in this was, why is Bullseye going after Foggy? And the funny thing is, for those of you who have been keeping up with the back issue breakdown that we're doing on our YouTube channel right now, which is the Born Again comics, what happened in the comics, Kingpin gets a Daredevil costume for one of his crazies, and he sends it to kill Matt. But Karen was at his apartment and ends up killing Karen. In the comics, Karen Page gets killed, not Foggy. And I was like, okay, that's a nice little juxtaposition. They change it up just enough from the comics. Hey, Foggy has a guy he's defending. He stashed him at his safe house at his apartment. And this guy's coming to kill Foggy, and he ends up, killing that guy and then killing Foggy at the bar. But just that whole opening sequence and then the fight scene between Daredevil and Bullseye was not only brutal,
so good.
but seeing him like picking up,
just objects and throwing them.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, all the daggers that are getting stuck in Daredevil, and he's trying to like knock some of them off with his staff. And you're not kidding, Keith. It was an incredible fight scene. It would. The way the camera was like moving with them from outside into the bar, through that stairwell, up the stairs. I mean, it looked like one long shot. I'm sure there's probably some editing done, but it looked like one long shot, and it was so good. I loved it. I loved how they were like, fighting with the scenery. Like it was a part of the fight. They're like, people are getting in the way, and Daredevil's trying to save them, but obviously Bullseye, he doesn't care. He's gonna kill anybody who gets in his way. He's a psychopath.
I mean, and it even showed when so to cut, long story short, he ends up killing, shooting Foggy. Matt and him are fighting, and when he dies, and Matt and him are up on the thing, and he's like, dude, the look on Bullseye's face when he's just like, he smiles at him and like slaps his side like, I gotcha, and Daredevil just throws him off the roof.
I was waiting. I was waiting for like, what is he going to do? Because we were talking about this during our Theory Palooza. What is it that, pushes Matt over the edge? What is it that makes him, say those lines? Like, I can't go that far again. I'll never do that again, or whatever is, the saying that he says.
And unlike a certain show, The Acolyte, seeing what he did that caused him to stop being Daredevil makes a lot more sense. He really lost it when his friend died. He threw a guy off a roof, which he ended up living, but, his intention was to kill him. And I thought that was played extremely well by Charlie Cox. And then we get the scene, before we go, I didn't see this when I watched it the first time, but did you happen to see what the address was for Nelson, Murdoch, and Page?
No.
It was 468. You're probably saying, Keith, who cares about what the street number is on this? Daredevil 468 is The Secret Life of Foggy Nelson. And guess what he does in that issue?
He dies.
Fakes his own death.
Oh. Really? Wow, that is a deep cut. See, that's the kind of Easter egg that I like. That's cool. I like that.
Now, he has been confirmed to be in season 2. And I really don't, it would seem very hard to fake his death the way it did. He bled out on the street. It wasn't like they took him in an ambulance and said, oh, he died at the hospital. and yada. He died in front of people, and
by the way-
Matt heard his heart stop beating, which is what
Well,
made
yeah,
him
that's
throw
why
a
he
bullseye.
threw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he threw him off the roof. Of course. But what took that ambulance so long? That was the first thing I'm thinking. Like, the entire time, she's doing chest compressions on him. She's trying to, stop the bleeding and everything. And I'm sitting there the whole time, like, I should be watching the fight. I'm like, where's the ambulance? Hey, Foggy, don't do this to me. It's like 10 minutes in, man. Come on.
I did not think they would kill Foggy.
Oh,
I was
man.
pretty shocked by that. I like when shows shock me, and I did not expect it. I thought he'd be saved at the last minute, and he'd be like in intensive care or something for the first season, and that would be like what motivates Matt. But
I figured out of anyone to die, I figured for sure it's going to be the police detective that just announced his retirement. Because that would have been the cliche right there. Just like, well, guys, I'm about to retire. It's been a great life. I can't wait to see what's next. And obviously, but no, Foggy, really? What the?
I bought a boat. I'm gonna fade into the sunset. Why?
Stops. Oh, banana peel on the floor. Would have hated to trip on that.
And then, obviously, we get a year jump.
Mm-hmm.
We see Matt at Poindexter's.
Real quick, how did you like that 1 year later?
Why does it have to be so intense? I'm like, 1 year later? What? But seeing him at the sentencing in just the way Bullseye was like, I got nothing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows he could get out probably any time. He knows.
Oh, yeah. And he will. If it's a good comic book show, he will.
Yeah, oh yeah, he'll be back. And I honestly think we talked about this in the Theory Palooza with the Kingpin giving his no vigilantes, all this stuff. I think he's going to break him out of his jail, and he's going to deputize Bullseye to stop Daredevil and White Tiger and anybody else he sees. And I got a bad feeling that White Tiger's, the actor who plays him, passed away after the filming.
Yeah.
But I got a bad feeling that Bullseye's going to kill him in this season too. Like, he's going to get out and be deputized as an anti-vigilante, officer of some type, and he's going to kill White Tiger. And man, that's going to see, Matt get pushed over the edge. So, I mean, it has started so many things with these first 2 episodes that they really could go anywhere in the next 7. I can't get over how great all the actors are. Like, just seeing the Charlie Cox, the Matt Murdock Kingpin at the diner. Just their conversations as they try to exchange like certain pleasantries, and you can just tell the tension between them is,
You can tell every time Vincent D'Onofrio, when he's playing the Kingpin, like, he is so good at using his body language to telegraph what this character is supposed to be feeling in that moment. And you can see him like flexing his hands and like, he can't quite sit still, and he keeps like clenching them in a fist because, the real Kingpin inside wants to, beat the hell out of Matt. Can't stand him. So I love that. This is one of the things that I appreciate about his acting. He becomes that character.
He really does. He does a great job. And just, the threats back and forth that are, he's like, I'm going to be, watching you, and you step out of line, and who's saying this, you or your alter ego?
Right.
And he's like, you just know if you start doing the things you did before, we're coming after you. And they're both like threatening each other with a smile on their face and just, dark undertones. And it's great when a scene can just, with 2 people sitting down talking, be intense. Like, you're on your edge of your chair like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
I have a question for you. Every time he's talking about having been attacked by a vigilante, is he going all the way back to when the last season of Daredevil on Netflix, when Daredevil beat him senseless?
Yes.
That's what he was talking about?
He is.
Okay, I was wondering because a couple of people were saying, oh, no, he's talking about when Echo shot him. I'm like, really? He's referring to Echo as a vigilante?
Nope, he was talking about Daredevil. And
I
Carrie
thought
says,
so. I figured.
Carrie says it was so sad seeing him. I followed him from his soap days. I didn't know he was on a soap opera. And then she said, Vincent is phenomenal. Everything he does, he's really great in. But he really just...
I followed him ever since he was, just an amazing Marine.
That's right. He got Full Metal Jacket. He was, Private Pile, get in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he ends up coming to a Michigan Comic-Con, I'll definitely be there to get a signature.
Oh,
That is one dude I'd love to meet.
Oh yeah, me too. And Carrie said that's what I thought. It was Echo. I mean, One Life to Live. He met his wife on the show. I did not know that. That's good to know. But yeah, I do think he was talking about because Matt mentioned him getting shot by Echo. You have any kids? I heard you tried that and she shot you in the face.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, that is, at least that's still canon as well. But yeah, now when he's talking about needing to recover and when Vanessa took over his businesses, that's referring to his fight with Echo, I assume.
Yes. Oh, and she said that's White Tiger, the actor who played White Tiger, not Vincent. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sad that he passed away. It was nice that they dedicated the episode to him and stuff. It was sad that right after that he passed because he's doing a great job so far. I love, not to jump to the second episode, but when he's like, I didn't even have my, magic pendant or whatever. And Matt says it to the one cop like it's nothing. He didn't have his magic pendant. Magic pendant?
Everybody knows if you don't have your magic pendant, you don't have superpower. I mean, have you been to New York lately?
Everybody knows these things. And then our good friend Kristen McDuffie sets up Matt with the therapist, which I thought was great. He thought he was going to meet a new client. She thought she was meeting someone who needed therapy. He does. But
he does.
It is great. They hit it off, but they're like, we're not telling her. We're not giving her the satisfaction that she was right.
Yeah. But I do like that they are able to hit it off. It is funny that you've got these, two people, one obviously a little bit more disturbed than the other. and, in mentioning the fact that he probably does need therapy, I like how his idea of that is, well, I better go stand outside this church.
Yes, he is a deeply religious man, so that is his therapy. I feel guilty for things I've done.
Right.
Now, they're on their, I think, second date, and Matt finds out that Fisk has won the election.
Yes. And I love how he mentions during this acceptance speech the different vigilantes. No longer will we abide by a man wearing a skull on his t-shirt or a man swinging around in a spider suit or the devil of Hell's Kitchen.
That was great. And then we also see him telling his wife, like, I know you cheated on me while I was gone. And she's like, please don't kill him.
Oh, he's already dead.
Well, you saw his knuckles when he was sitting at. They were bloody, and I'm like, oh my God, he's already reverting. Because in that first episode, we did have a really nice scene. The parallels between Matt getting ready and the Kingpin getting ready. How they're looking for their suits and how they're doing. Very similar people, and they both are trying to deny what they really are. And I like how this opening couple scenes are Matt trying to not be Daredevil, even though that's in his blood. And, the Kingpin trying not to be a crime lord and wants to, go legit and stuff. It's just not for either one of them. And just seeing both of their parallels trying to do this at the same time and starting off with them getting dressed, I thought was so well done. And I have to admit, the Fisk can fix it tag from his... I would have voted for him too. I mean, and honestly, in this day and age, it's not as surprising that someone like Wilson Fisk could win an election than it may have been, 20 years ago or so.
Yeah. Yes, I know that it was probably like a fantastical idea in the comics. Like, what? Some sort of criminal becoming a leader in the government? Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
And he's just gonna get away with it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he is. I don't even think he's even begun. I mean, we saw in episode 2. We might as well talk a little bit about optics because it does get a little bit more into Wilson's, mayoral campaign when he is just, he's not going to abide by the rules. His associate.
With the young guy that's
No,
in
no.
social media?
Not
Oh.
not Tony Soprano's son,
Mm.
who is phenomenal in this. Gandolfini Jr. or Michael Gandolfini, awesome. He's doing a great job. But like the lady who's like, I've worked on things, and you hired me to, say, and she's like, you just
Oh,
gotta lay
her,
low.
yeah.
And he's like, I'm not laying low. And he goes out and he wants to
No.
consider this
That's-
your thing, fix that hole. And he's doing little things that he thinks is going to better the city, but aren't necessarily the right way of going about it. But it's getting him fans.
But see, that's like so on the nose, and it really speaks volumes to the I don't know if I don't exactly know if this is their intent when they were making the show, but I mean it really is kind of like a look at she's the old world of politics. This is how you do things. This is how you run a campaign, and her methods are, by the current state of things, outdated. They don't work anymore. What the young guy is saying about this is really trending, that's what's gonna sell him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Slogans, taglines, and shaking your fist and I'll tear away the red tape, fix that pothole. Of course that's gonna work.
Yep, it's optics, exactly what he wanted. And of course,
You said the thing.
yes, it all comes down to, for at least, Wilson in the second episode, the police commissioner is going to quit. He knows, God, when you see him talking to Fisk, and he calls him the Kingpin when he walks out, and I'm just like, oh my God, Kingpin wants to just murder him right there, right now. But instead, what does he do? Oh, yeah, because Ben Urich's niece, Bibi, had let him know that, a lot of cops are going to quit, and so is the commissioner or whatever. He's going to quit on you. So what does he do? Gets dirt on him, and he's talking about, oh, my favorite, Philly cheesesteak is from this place. And he lifts it up, and the picture with his kid is on there, and he's just like, I think you should reconsider. And I was like, damn. And then, of course, he's like, okay, I'll stay on. You won, whatever. And he's like, get this disgusting sandwich out of my face.
Right. Well, especially because the first scene that we see him when he's eating his very lean chicken breast and his one asparagus strand, and also I love the little comment that Matt makes to him at the restaurant, like, looks like you've lost some weight, gained some muscle, your footsteps are lighter.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the fact that
Should watch my my In Focus on the Kingpin.
you really should. And if you haven't seen our YouTube link, it's there in the chat. I mean, this is great because, once again, I talked about how they're both kind of, at least to me, they're both trying to deny their nature. And it's starting a really good foundation for both of those characters to work with for the rest of the season. And seeing the Kingpin already threatening the commissioner, police chief's, the police commissioner's family to get him to keep his job, so he doesn't have, an issue with the police while he's in his first couple days of office, was just a phenomenal way to handle it. So good. And of course, the other sort of plot line on this episode is, the White Tiger. He goes into the subway, he sees two guys beating up another guy, and he's helping the guy that's getting beat up. And he ends up, fighting with, he didn't know at the time, two cops. And while they're fighting, the guy trips and falls and gets hit by the subway, killing him. And that's when the cop all of a sudden, hey, police, and he arrests. Hector. And then he's in jail, and the only way Matt really finds out that, or finds him, he's there talking to another, not the client, but a relative of one of his clients, and he's like almost not even listening to it because he's picking up with his radar sense, these cops beating up Hector in that room. So he goes and takes on his case, and finding out, arguing with Kristen about, we said we would take hard cases, and yes, this seems bad. A cop's word. There's the witness that Hector says is no one can find him. No one knows who it is. It's a cop words against this guy's word. It's not going to end well for our client. But Matt talks in it. He's like, Cherry, you need to find him. We need to take this case. We promised we'd take the hard cases, and
it's like very similar to the first episode of Daredevil.
Yeah,
Netflix.
And it was great too when he's like, listen, he's telling me the truth. He was helping. He told me the truth, but he's hiding something. And Cherry's like, hey, he's telling the truth, but he's hiding something. They're both true. And then, of course, I thought it was funny. It's like as soon as when Kristen and Cherry went into his wife's apartment, and he's like, oh, does he have a suit? I want to grab a suit. And, oh, it's in the bedroom. Don't worry, I'll get it. I'm like, oh, he's snooping. And, of course, he finds it. He's, right under his bed. And he figures it out. And, that's one aspect of what they need to kind of help free him, because like Matt says, I thought that was such a great line when he's like, what are you not telling me? Because I can only win this case if I know how I can lose it.
Yep, that's very true. Honestly, I'm waiting for there's a YouTube channel called Legal Eagle. I'm waiting for him to break down some of the court related things in this show. He's a big fan of the original Daredevil series.
And it, the court stuff seemed good to me. We did see Matt talking at, Bullseye's trial, telling him that, he does not deserve any leniency. He should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Yes.
And then all we really had was, a little bit with Hector's arraignment when he was denied bail. And then obviously in the judge's chambers when they're talking, hey, this is all we should be talking about is this incident at the subway with Hector. We shouldn't talk about what he does at night on other nights because it's not relevant. And I was actually pretty shocked that the judge let it in because he seemed pretty biased against Hector in the first one because it's like, oh, he's a cop killer. I'm denying him bail. I don't want to hear any arguments. So it was nice to see Matt win that one because it was. I thought Matt had the better argument. This is not relevant to what happened there. He wasn't wearing the suit. He didn't have his magical amulet on. So it's not relevant. And the judge, agreeing and saying, we're not going to bring that up. This is about that one case. I was like, that seemed like legit lawyering stuff to me. But once again, I'm no expert. But to a layman, I was like, they're handling, because I know it was a big gripe for you and Dave on She-Hulk, how silly they made all the court proceedings, and it was kind of for comedic, effect rather than actual, courtroom stuff. And this just
again,
seems better.
I get it was it's meant to be a comedy, but I just wish they would have gotten just like some of the stuff, like some of the proceedings correct, just like not to be night court.
Yeah. And like I said, they did it for comedic effect. It would have probably been better if they would have done a better job of having the court stuff be more realistic. But I get it too. You know what? They made choices. Wasn't the best show ever. Wasn't the worst show in my opinion either. But I think Dave still thinks it is. But he ends up he ends up winning that. And then obviously, he's like, we got to find whoever that was that Hector saved. And eventually, he follows the cop home, uses his radar sense, figures out, oh, this is where the guy lives. They're going there. And as much as, like, the Kingpin was trying to deny his nature, Matt goes there and tells him, listen, get out of there. I got a buddy down. He'll take you to somewhere safe. We need you to testify. And he's like, oh, my God, I can't do that. They'll kill me. They're coming to kill you now, dude.
Yeah.
So you might as well just do it.
They're 5 minutes away. They're approaching the door. I love that. Every time that they show him using his advanced hearing, like that is so good. It is perfect Daredevil.
And the way they portray it on a show, it's like it stops and you can see that he's not
Mm-hmm.
really paying attention to the person in front of him, and you just hear the
Yep.
thump, 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 like up the stairs, and it's like, oh man,
It's like they kind of put you inside Daredevil so you can experience his power for yourself.
yeah, and it's great. And then seeing, him trying to deny his nature as Daredevil, and those cops like start beating him up, and he just gets a smile on his face, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna beat up some dirty cops. And
Yep.
oh my God, he broke that guy's arm. I was wondering if they were going to make this as brutal as the Netflix show. And you always worry, it's Disney Plus. Obviously they put all the Netflix shows on Disney Plus now. And thankfully they have the parental control, so my kids can now watch these shows. They can when they're older. But God, he broke that guy's arm, and I was like, oh, okay. Wasn't
You
expecting
hear the
that.
cracking. Which, okay, question for you, Keith. Did he kill them?
I don't think he did. I think he hurt them very badly, but I don't think they're dead.
Well, the reason why I ask is they seemed like very dead set on showing you when he's first attacked by these officers the 2 drops of blood that drop out of Matt. Almost like that's going to be important in future episodes. I assume when some CSI comes in, they're going to probably take a blood sample. I assume at some point Matt is going to have to break into, the lab and steal it back or something, or he's going to end up going on trial and potentially lose his license or something. Who knows?
I 100% think you're right. He is going to get prosecuted. I think. Now, I'm going back to the comics.
Okay.
Now, the comics, what happened was he was framed by a police lieutenant. This was in Born Again. A police lieutenant that the Kingpin was paying for his kids' medical treatment reported that Matt bribed a witness or a juror or whatever. So Matt got disbarred, but he didn't go to jail. Foggy defended him. He didn't go to jail. So obviously Foggy can't defend him. But the way they had that blood drop, they are going to know he was on the scene. He is probably going to get in some trouble for beating up some cops. Which I can't wait to be like, how did a blind guy beat up 2 cops?
Bro, that's what it's got me thinking. Like something's gonna come out, because if they do figure out that blood belongs to him, then obviously they're going to have some questions for him. And like what you just said, how did a blind guy? How were you able to do all this? Because he's going to have to either say, I killed them in cold blood, or I was defending myself. Either way, he's going to have to explain how he took out 3 cops with the help of a refrigerator.
Yes. And that may even get out. The Kingpin knows who he is.
Oh, yeah.
In the comics, Karen Page becomes like a heroin addict and sells Matt's secret identity for basically some heroin. And it gets back to the Kingpin, and that's how he finds out. But he already knows it in this. So I think at some point in this series, in this season, he's going to be on trial. Like, they're going to be like, how did a blind man beat up these cops? And they're going to be like, he's actually Daredevil. And he's going to go on trial, and he is probably going to get jailed. And he's probably going to be attacked in jail nonstop.
Probably.
And, it's going to be extremely brutal. But,
Carrie. Damn, Karen.
yeah, she's messed up. It's so funny because they make her such a great character in this show. And in the comics, at least in the Born Again run with Frank Miller, she went off to be an actress and got addicted to heroin and was making adult films in Mexico. And she sold Matt's identity, and then she felt terrible about it, was trying to make it back to New York to let Matt know, even though the Kingpin already knew it was destroying Matt's life. But she was, his name was Pablo. I don't remember what he was, but he was kind of helping her avoid Fisk's thugs because he was trying to get her killed, because he was trying to clean up every little bit of it, not have any witnesses or no knowledge of it anywhere. And this guy was helping her, but he was beating her, and then Foggy found her, and it was, This is dark. The Born Again comic is much darker.
In other words, what you're saying is we should check out your back issue breakdown, and if possible, also read the comic.
Yes. Yes. We don't tell you everything in the back issue breakdowns, but enough that hopefully you'll go read it because it's 8 issues. It's really phenomenal. I mean, this was back in the 80s, and this was unheard of, some of the stuff they were doing in this series for comics at the time. So it's just great.
Boy, they were really trying to see how far they could push the Comic Code Authority, huh?
They were. They 100% were, because the things that Fisk was doing to Matt, I mean, like, at one point, you know, Matt confronts Fisk, and Fisk just beats the living snot out of him, dumps liquor all over him, puts him in a taxi, and pushes the car basically off into the East River. And of course, Matt wakes up at the last minute and saves himself. And then Fisk is just out of his head, like, why didn't they find a corpse with that car? You know, Matt Murdock is alive out there, and it just kind of pushes him and over again. Which I don't think we'll get that level in this, but if we do, I'm all for it. And I wonder if, I was thinking maybe the blood would come into play in season 2.
Oh, you think that far out, huh?
Like, I think, but the more I think about it, they're going to be investigating that scene.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. To me, I see it as a Chekhov's gun situation, right?
Yep.
They showed us the blood. Obviously, it's going to come into play, and you know, obviously not in that episode, but I think at least, the very least, in this season. And speaking of that, going back to the chat, Carrie says that she thinks they're dead. She thinks Matt might have killed him.
They may be. I mean,
they could be. It's hard to say. We don't know whether Matt is willing to go that far. There's a line from The Dark Knight Returns where, you know, somebody asks Bruce, like, you know, all these years, why did you never kill the Joker? And he responds with, because it'd be too easy. He says, once I kill him, what's stopping me from doing it to everybody else? He said the hardest thing is not killing him.
Yep.
And I think that's the same with Matt. You know, I think once he crosses that line, it would be too easy for him to keep crossing it. And so it does have me wondering, is this something that, you know, something that he's going to have to fight with through this season, maybe well into season 2, having to hold back, learn how to hold back? Because he does utter that line to Wilson Fisk at the restaurant. He says, all the times you tried to kill me. And he says, incarcerate, not kill. So it's like you can tell he's fighting with his own inner self. He's trying to tell himself, no, I would never try to kill anybody, knowing full well that he wanted to kill Bullseye.
oh, and Carrie says, I thought it was bringing him back to the devil and not a bigger setup. Well, it was definitely, I think it was 2 ways. It was him, like, seeing the blood that brought, hey, I'm Daredevil, and, you know, I need to do what I need to do. But I do think it's also going to come into play later, because the Kingpin's going to do whatever he can to take him down. And if that means saying, hey, he beat up cops, he's actually a vigilante, especially when I think the costume will be coming out next episode, and he's going to start going after him legally to get Matt unlocked. And if he can point him to a scene of a crime like that, it's going to happen. Because originally, they're probably going to blame the witness. But some forensic guy is going to be like, wait, there's blood here. That's not the cops, and it's not the witness. So it's somebody else was there. And they're eventually going to figure out it was Matt Murdock.
Yep. All they have to do is test it. I'm sure that his blood is somewhere in the system.
Yeah, you know what? Was he arrested in any of the first 3 seasons of Netflix? I can't remember. I thought he was.
Thought he was too.
I'm pretty sure.
Gonna have to go back and watch them all.
Oh, shucks. Like 29 hours of Daredevil, darn it. So, yeah, they probably have his blood. I think it's going to come out, and I think it's going to be Fisk applying pressure to get him incarcerated and hopefully locked up. But I don't know. You know, the fact that Bullseye lived, I thought was a sign that they're going, like, he realized his mistake. And he's, with his heightened senses, he knows enough to beat a guy, like how far he can beat him without killing him. So while they are unconscious and extremely injured, I don't think they're dead. I hope not, at least. Because I think you're right. I think if he fight, killing him would be easy. and I don't want to see Daredevil killing everybody in this show. You know, he
Same.
always tries to do the right thing. You know, get him incarcerated. But of course, we know that the big bad of the season, Muse, will probably be coming along. And am
By
I
the way,
the
did
only?
you mention him going up to his new girlfriend who's doing the book signing?
Yes. No, we didn't mention it yet,
Oh.
but the fact that that kid was definitely Muse, right?
Gotta be.
Okay.
It's gotta be. I mean, why else are you gonna show him? I mean, he clearly he seems like there's something off with him. Yeah.
So
Which little Easter eggy thing, maybe, possibly, I don't know. For all of our Fallout fans out there, if you are familiar with Fallout 4, the first when I started looking up who Muse is and what his backstory is, the fact that he's this street artist is supposed to be like, Banksy or whatever, but he paints with like blood and everything. The first thought in my head was Fallout 4. There's this guy called Pikmin who does the same thing. He hunts down, people. He thinks he's doing a good thing. He hunts down these, these raiders, these people that are stealing and killing, and he mutilates them, tortures them, and then puts their blood into paint buckets, and then uses it to paint portraits. And he's got all these things lining the walls of his mansion.
and Carrie said, "Tell me more. Who's Muse?" He's basically kind of a Banksy serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Which I really am kind of wondering who this guy is going to kill in this season. Because I think he's going to set Kingpin off, and I think he's going to set Matt off too. We know Karen is now in San Francisco. Now, here's the part that at the end of this second episode, I was like, so it looks like she is going to be treating Muse. She's dating Matt. She's going to be treating Muse. And she's doing couples therapy with the Kingpin and Vanessa.
Right. Is she the only therapist in the entire city?
She's the best one.
Apparently.
The best. Everyone always says she does the best job with serial killers, with
With mob bosses and their wives.
who are trying to go on the straight and narrow. So, I mean, a lot of things are coming into play. She's obviously playing a central figure. She has ties to the three major players now for this series. And before I forget, Carrie, I am planning on doing a In Focus on Muse, a little short. I was hoping to get it done before the premiere, but obviously he wasn't in it yet, so I still have time. But I'm going to try to get it done before episode 3 next week. So be on the lookout on our YouTube channel for our In Focus on Muse, because very interesting character to pick for a Disney Plus show, because once again, I'm very glad for the parental controls on Disney Plus, because I do not need my kids watching, what it is. It's probably going to be pretty gruesome if they do a good job with this character. And it seems like all the comic book people who saw this first season are kind of saying how great it is and what a great job they do, that I'm sure it's going to be very, very, very true to the comic book roots.
The only thing that sorta, kinda, not much, bothered me a little bit was in the first episode. To me, I could tell that this was, part of reshoots. Some of the scenes of Matt, climbing the building, swinging around and doing his thing, it felt very much like it was being filmed on a set. Like it didn't have the same cityscape look that I remember from the seasons of Daredevil on Netflix. It didn't look as realistic, but it's fine. It's okay. It didn't bother me that much. Everything else looked great. Fantastic acting. I liked the fact that we actually did get to see him swinging around using his stick and
His billy club, yeah.
his billy club. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, I love the fact that we actually get to see him in action. It was pretty cool. I loved that stairwell scene. That was phenomenal.
I was going to say, one of my favorite parts of him, like swinging around, was when Bullseye was on the roof and instead of coming
Yeah.
through the door, he swung up and landed on a
Yep.
thing in his superhero pose. I was like, that is awesome. Yes, thank you guys.
We just needed Yelena to be like, oh, how does that not hurt?
That would have been great.
So impractical.
Now, we know that Heather Glenn, Daredevil's love interest, is going to be a central figure in season 1 with all the ties to the 3 main characters. Do you know what other show she was in that you watched?
No.
The Acolyte.
Really?
She played Mother Carell.
Oh, the Smoke Witch?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Which I had to look up on IMDb. I did not know that by looking at
I did
it.
not know that.
But I saw
Alright.
that and I was like, what? I'm like, God, I swear I've seen her in something before. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God. So she must have been the one on set that said, hey, if Matt's going to give up being Daredevil for a year, have it be something that he really should, feel bad about and not, defending himself. So I'm glad she was there to offer some wisdom to help the show along.
Same.
I mean, right now, I couldn't be happier with the way the show started.
I know. I was looking forward to it, and, everything inside of me that would normally tell me, nope, don't get your hopes up, based on everything else that you've seen, nothing could make that voice loud at all. Like, I mean, everything in me was just, I cannot wait for this. I've been looking forward to this. It's going to be amazing. Nothing is going to make this bad. And I got to tell you, like, I am so pleased. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. And it does feel very much like just a return to what we left back on Netflix. I'm so glad that Disney didn't turn it into some PG monstrosity.
Yes. Thanks. And, our buddy Robbie over at Attack on Show, was like, I'm so happy, greatness has returned. Disney didn't screw up there. He was tricking us a little bit right after that State of the Union speech, which was...
Yeah. I saw his post. Saw the first couple of sentences, surrounded in red. I'm like, oh no, what am I reading? And then I get to the part about Daredevil. I'm like, oh, God.
And Carrie said, got to get the boys to bed. Great show, met expectations. Agreed. We cannot wait. Get those young men to bed, and hopefully we'll be able to chat with you down the road more about this
Oh yeah.
new season of Daredevil, because I want to watch it again. I didn't get a chance to watch it again today, but I have every intention of watching both those episodes again, because this was a no phone in sight type watching. It was intense. I didn't look away. I probably ignored my kid. No, they were in bed while I was watching. But, I mean, this is what I want in a television show, when I'm glued to the set and I'm not distracted by anything going on around me. That's quality television. That's what this was for me.
Now, have you seen the rumblings online, grumblings rather, from people who are fans of the original series that are watching this? It seems like the biggest complaint from these people is, why didn't it all release all at once? I wanted to binge this show. I don't want to have to wait week after week. And I do understand from a certain point of view, I do understand, if you're coming from watching the show originally on Netflix, yeah, everything dropped all at once. You didn't have to wait week by week to watch this series. You were able to binge it. And a lot of modern streaming, if you're not normally watching Disney Plus shows or Amazon Prime shows or whatever, yeah, you are used to binging stuff if you primarily watch things on Netflix. So I get that. But at the same time, they realized that that wasn't sustainable for a streaming service. And I'll give them this. Rather than just putting out a bunch of stuff that you're going to binge in a weekend, and then, nothing but filler. Or if you go the old route that Disney Plus was doing, where they're just pumping out show after show after show, and not everything was high quality, I would rather take a little bit of time, stretch it out a bit, I think it's fine. I mean, we all did it in the past with every other show. We still do it with a lot of stuff that still just airs on TV to this day. Uh, there's this show that I've been watching that airs on Adult Swim called Common Side Effects. I have to wait week after week to watch this show. It's a phenomenal show, so I don't mind waiting for it. Yeah, it bugs me a little bit because I do want to see what's going to happen next, but take your time with that. I'm okay with that. I mean, I guess I'm just old enough to where waiting to watch the next episode, I'm just so used to it, it doesn't bother me as much.
See, I kind of prefer it. I don't like the binge model that much, only because I do enjoy letting episodes breathe and thinking, having time to like, whoa, what were they saying there? Is this going to lead to this? And a lot of what we do here,
You want
what's
to discuss
next?
it, you want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's fun to me to not know. Like, I can't sit and watch 9 hours of television without getting up. That's just not me. And so I don't like binging shows. I do, there's times when I'm like, I wish I had the next episode right now. But for the most part, I do not mind waiting that week to see what's happening. I can rewatch the old episode, get some other things done. To me, people who like, I'm going to wait till it's all out and then binge it. I can't sit and watch a television show that long.
And I have heard a lot of people that are deciding to do that, which Disney, if you are, watching this stuff online for paying attention to social media, I do hope you are using this when you are judging the viewership of the program. I know that it did receive high numbers, but if you see it drop off a bit and you don't see a lot of views, don't chalk that up to people not watching the show and not liking it. You got to remember, there are a lot of people out there that are just going to wait.
Yep.
They're not going to watch it week after week. We saw that with a lot of the shows that we were reviewing. I think one of the shows that we were watching recently, Agatha All Along, that was it. Agatha All Along, that was another one where people were originally waiting to binge it. There were a couple of episodes where it got a lot of high numbers. People were watching it the night of the premiere because the marketing was good enough to draw people in. But mostly, overall, people waited for all the episodes to watch before they binged it, before they watched it. It's just the way that some people prefer to view TV. I think my sister is pretty much like that. She, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's like just now getting around to watching the third season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I get it.
Yeah.
Some people like, hey, I want to take a weekend and watch an entire season of a show.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait week to week and get it. Just not for me. I would rather watch it week to week. But
I'm too excited. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch. I'm gonna watch it when it comes out.
and I didn't see the numbers yet, but I mean, it's funny because we've been watching Invincible, which new episode today. I haven't watched it yet. We'll be talking about it Sunday night. Little plug right there. So if you want to come back and talk about, episode 7 of Invincible, we'll be talking about it on Sunday. But like, I've seen very little online for Invincible this season. Like, nothing on Twitter, nothing on Threads, nothing on Blue Sky, barely anything. Daredevil has been, if you want to avoid, if you're saving it to the end, you better stay off social media, because I saw nothing but spoilers for Daredevil the day it dropped. Like, I got up in the morning. I watched the first episode Tuesday night. I couldn't stay up to watch the second because I'm old and my kids stay up late. But, I watched the second episode at lunch on Wednesday, and I was like, I remember I got up and I was looking at Twitter on my phone, and I'm like, nope, cannot do this until I watch the second episode, because it's everywhere. So if you are waiting to binge this, stay off social media or it'll be ruined for you. Because I expect, after the big surprise, once again, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to this, as you may know if you're here already, we're talking spoilers. But the fact that they killed Foggy in like the first 15 minutes of the show, I was like, okay, we're going to be in for some big surprises. And I do not want those ruined by idiots on social media.
It was so hard to like keep my voice to myself. I'm just like, I'm yelling obscenities at my TV screen watching this stuff happen. And yeah, if I was one of those folks that was waiting to binge and watch it all, it would have probably all been spoiled for me.
Yep. And me being me, after his heart stopped, when Foggy's heart stopped, and he chucked him off the roof. I was like, good. And then I'm like, oh wait, that's
Oh no.
because it was
Oh,
it was
no.
a spur of the moment thing. Like, yeah, especially with how he's like laughing in his face and slapping him on the arm, like, ha ha, look what I did. I was like, oh my god, way to go, Matt. But yeah, all
So
around.
I just looked it up, and the double episode Daredevil Born Again premiere has a 90% audience rating, and it has reached the highest audience rating of any Disney Plus MCU show.
Excellent. It's worth it. I mean, I've seen some people complaining online they hate it, but they're just anything the MCU has, they're going to hate. So,
I don't know what's to hate about this. It was
no,
phenomenal.
I agree. I agree. If it was, there's some shows you watch, She-Hulk, for instance, like watching it while I thought it was good, I could tell people were going to not like it.
Yeah, yeah.
With this, I watch it, I'm like, oh my God, if they like Daredevil, they're going to love this. But obviously, you got the people, no matter what Disney does, they're going to hate it, no matter what. So they can. But even the people, I saw like Den of Nerds, who is very down on the MCU right now, is loving Daredevil. So, should we rate this episode, sir?
I think we should. And I can go first if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh.
You said, oh, like you were surprised. You said it.
I did. I wasn't intentional.
So, I've already pretty much said I loved this show. I loved the premiere. I wasn't even worried that I wouldn't. That never popped up in my head once. That has happened for pretty much everything else that we've watched, but not this. Everything that I'd heard about it leading up to it, it sounded like it was going to be good. I was happy with the switched up direction they were going to take once they realized, no, we've got other fans to please. We got to change this up a little bit. And I'm glad they did. I'd say the only thing that I didn't really like, that I wasn't super fond of, was, like I said, it seemed like some of the opening shots, you could tell it was like on a soundstage. It didn't look like some of these scenes were, they didn't look as realistic. It looked like, okay, we have a limited budget. We've got to do these reshoots real quick. We got to put together a new pilot episode kind of thing. But the thing is, like, I guess I'm kind of willing to overlook it because the acting was phenomenal. The shots were so good. There were so many different ways that they used the camera to set the scene. We talked about when they introduced Bullseye to us in this series. You start off by seeing the paperclip thrown at the fly, and that's instantly, like, you know what that means. Oh, this guy is, this is obviously Bullseye, because he's the type of guy, especially if you saw the the Ben Affleck Daredevil, that he pulls off that move. The only thing he didn't have was a nice scar, implanted in his forehead. But other than that, yeah. And then you see the glove, the subtle little bullseye design on the glove. It's like, okay, it was a perfect setup. And then my favorite scene in that first episode was the camera just moving backward as Daredevil and Bullseye are fighting out in the street, through the bar, up the stairs, and it was so well shot. And then every time that we see the Kingpin in these episodes, we usually start off by seeing him from the back. We just see this giant, foreboding character because he towers over everybody. He is just bigger and stronger than everybody, and he's just, one hand flex away from crushing somebody's skull in a door again. So, like, I mean, they're so good at setting up so many of these shots. And once again, acting so good, just cream of the crop. I love that they got back Vincent D'Onofrio to play Kingpin. I love that they got back all of the majority of the original cast, obviously for the reshot pilot, but got me right in the feels losing Foggy right away. I'm just like, way to hook you into a first episode. If anybody was at all worried, at all concerned that this wasn't going to live up to the Netflix series, that first episode, that proves you wrong almost instantly. First 10 minutes, you're hooked. You're into it. So I am going to give this a 9 out of 10. It was really good. I cannot wait to see it get even better.
You know, you're totally right, Doug. Everything about this was just in my mind great. The way they set you up at the beginning, they're having fun talking about eating the little roller coaster we get. You know, when Matt figures out that Foggy's on the phone and just the emotions you go through. The fight choreography between Bullseye and Daredevil just was top notch. I mean, they really went out of their way to make sure that we got a fight scene that was worth our time. And the music, the acting, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Wilson Bethel, who plays Bullseye, everybody on this show is just doing a tremendous job. And like I talked about earlier, you know, the first episode setting up, you know, both Fisk and Matt are trying to deny their nature, is building this wonderful foundation for the rest of the season. I mean, they just hit every note, it seemed like, the way that they should. And, you know, having all these things tied together in a second episode with Matt's love interest, which always happens in the comics. If Matt's dating somebody, they're either going to be a villain, they're going to die, or something bad is going their way. And seeing her, Matt's love interest, she is going to have Muse as a client, and she's doing Kingpin and Vanessa's, you know, marriage counseling after she cheated on him, after he went away, after he was, you know, brutally assaulted by a vigilante. Just is setting so many good things in motion that, I mean, I cannot wait for episode 3. I can't wait till we get 5 and 6 together. I can't wait for all 9 episodes. You know, like you talked about, seeing the blood hitting the floor, which seemed to have multiple meanings. It was like bringing out, like Carrie said, the devil out of Matt again, but also setting it up later that, you know, part of Born Again is him being taken down and losing everything. So I think that is going to be a part of him losing everything before he gets built back up. And so far, everything is falling into line. And I'm going to give these episodes a 9 out of 10 also. I mean, the only negative thought I had, like, I didn't mind the reshoots. Like, you could kind of tell they were reshoots, but I still thought they were cool seeing him, you know, flying around the city and doing what Daredevil does in the comics. So I had zero, you know, worry about that. What worries me is we've had some other good beginnings to Marvel shows that have fallen apart hard in the end. Now, the fact that they let a lot of screeners watch the entire first season makes me happy. Like, they're confident in this whole season, so I'm not as upset. You know, a certain show that, you know, none of us enjoyed, Special Investigation. Like, the first episode, it was like, okay, you know, they're doing some things. This might be good. And then it completely fell apart from there. So I was worried about that a little bit. Like, okay, we got these and it's really good. Can they keep it up for a 9-episode season? You know, are the next 7 going to be the same quality? Let's hope so.
So wait, what did you rate it?
I gave it a 9 also. We both gave it 9s.
Oh, okay.
It was funny because I thought about it and I was like, is giving it a 9 too high? And then I'm like, nah.
I was thinking about that too, and I'm like, no, I think that's spot on.
That was my thought after I watched it. So I'm like, you know what?
Gives it room to grow.
Even I really do hope it gets even better and better every episode. And it feels like the kind of writing that they're building on things. They're setting things into place, and they're just going to keep building on it episode. They're obviously not afraid to, you know, kill off main characters, especially beloved characters. So I think we're going to get just a tremendous first season. And
I keep chuckling at the mention of that. Well, I didn't have my magic amulet.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and of course, there's nobody chuckles at this. You know, this is a very normal thing in the New York of the MCU.
Yeah,
like, yeah, a guy flying around in Spider-Man pajamas. I didn't have my magical amulet. You know, it's a Tuesday.
There's been alien invasions and, you know, people turning into dust. So, oh, he's got a magic amulet. Cool, we didn't know that. Glad he didn't use it.
Right.
Well, excellent. Well, like I said, we'll be back Sunday night talking Invincible. We haven't seen it. I haven't watched Harley Quinn today yet either. It's been a busy.
Oh yeah, I haven't yet either.
But we
I
should.
keep forgetting about it, and then I'll usually like watch it Friday or whatever. But yeah, I did watch Invincible during lunch.
Was it good today?
It was better,
Good.
in my opinion. It was better.
Good. This season has been, and like I said, it's crazy to me. Like there is nobody, and I didn't even think about it. Someone tweeted, and I saw the tweet, and they're like, "Is no one watching season 3 of Invincible?" And I was like, "Oh, they're right.
They're not doing
No
a
one-
good job of marketing it.
No, it's like, while it hasn't been a great season, I mean, I'm shocked that more people aren't talking about it.
Literally, the only social media network that I ever see anything about Invincible on is X. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. I haven't seen anything pop up on, and I follow Prime Video on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff. I haven't seen anything pop up on either of those.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've been on social media all day. No spoilers for today's episode that I saw. The only thing I saw, heavy spoilers, posted their breakdown video.
Oh, I didn't even see them do one for Invincible. Okay.
And that's what made me go, oh, hey, I forgot that was out today. I completely forgot it was Thursday today. Like, I was so... If I didn't have Todoist telling me I have things to do for the stream tonight, I probably would have completely forgot today was Thursday and we were streaming.
I think and this might be a little bit biased, you know, being that we're on a YouTube channel too, but I think the way that you can tell that something is getting a lot of people talking about it, that a lot of people are watching it, is just seeing, you know, the nerdy YouTube channels out there that do pretty much what we do, but, you know, worse than us. When you see your screen crushes or new rock stars out there, you know, talking about certain shows, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is doing well enough that it's worth enough to them to talk about. They're gonna, you know, spend the time, the manpower, the editing, everything involved in putting together a video or multiple videos for the show. But if people aren't watching it, then people are not going to go to the YouTube channel to watch a video about it. So I think that's a good judge to find out what's doing well right now, who's watching what. And yeah, I haven't seen it. That's why I asked, you know, heavy spoilers. I was surprised that they put out a video. I have not seen anything by Screen Crush and New Rockstars about Invincible. I do see them following Daredevil right now. But, yeah. I don't know what that means for, you know, a season 4 of Invincible, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't know how the ratings are doing. That'd be nice to find out.
Mm-hmm. But we'll definitely talk about that more on Sunday.
Yes, I'll have watched it by then. And hopefully Dave will be back from, you know, being on set for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, you know, helping with some rewrites and stuff, and he'll be back on Sunday talking about Invincible. We'll hopefully get his thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Born Again Season 1. But now let's find somebody to raid.
I agree. Good idea.
TG's on.
He is, but how much longer is he going to be on for?
Yeah,
He was on before we started, and last time we went to him, he was on for like 5 minutes before he switched off. So
yeah,
we
he pretty much got rated by us and then rated somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Tiny Valker's online.
Oh yeah. Oh, why don't we go ahead and only 11 people? Yeah, we could rate her.
Let's do that. I think we got 2 viewers, so hopefully she doesn't T-pain us.
Yeah, that was a little depressing.
All right, for those of you on YouTube, rating is something we do on Twitch, where we send our viewers to another content creator to share the love. There is a way to do it on YouTube, but it's clunky, and we need to know who's live way before we go live when we're done, so we haven't quite figured out how to handle that best, so we've just been avoiding it. But we will be back Sunday night to talk about Invincible Episode 7. Looking forward to that. And please make sure we'll be back next Thursday talking about Daredevil Born Again Episode 3. Any last Any last comments, Doug?
Nope. Just looking forward to talking about some more Daredevil next week.
Excellent. We'll see y'all next week, or we'll see y'all Sunday night. Be there.
Well, nerds,
That's right.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.